So in this video, I'm going to be reviewing the Contax T. I picked mine up for about 1/8 of the cost that you can pick up a T2 for. I got mine so cheap because it was in a pretty bad condition. It was scratched all over and the rewind lever doesn't pop back into place in the camera body. But personally, I don't mind that. I'll just put a piece of tape over it if it saves me £400. The Contax T is a very small camera, especially without the flash mounted on the side. It's tiny, it's even smaller than the T2 and most film point-and-shoot cameras. If I'm doing some street photography or just want a camera that I can bring around everywhere, this is my go-to camera. The silence, the sneakiness, the compactness of this camera is just brilliant for street photography, and it is my go-to every single time. Some great things about this camera are it shares the same 38 f2.8 T-Star Zeiss lens as the Contax T2. It's a brilliant lens, especially for a point and shoot. It's crazy how sharp it is. The colors are great. The aperture is brilliant for a point and shoot at f2.8. It lets in loads of light. You can actually get quite a nice depth of field with this lens, and the build quality of the camera is brilliant, especially on the actual body of the camera. It's fully metal, feels solid in your hand. If you put it in your pocket, you wouldn't be worried that it was going to get damaged or anything. The external flash, which mounts onto the side, is actually made of plastic. It looks the exact same, but it's a plastic shell instead of a metal shell. But the flash itself is still of nice quality. It's just a different material. The design is great. I personally think it looks better than all of the other T models in the Contax series. So some of the bad things about this camera are loading the film. Personally, I find it really tricky and fiddly to get a roll of film in. It's so fiddly that sometimes I'll just not pick it up, because if I know I have to reload a roll mid-shoot or when I'm out and about, it's so tricky. I mean, maybe it's just me, but I don't like it. The front cover for the lens that you pull out when you want to shoot is just another part that I know will eventually break. If you use it too quickly or too frequently, that thing will just break, I reckon. And plus, it is moving the whole lens out every single time, so eventually I reckon you'll get focusing problems like not being able to focus to infinity, or the closest focus distance will change. Another thing that annoys me is you have to use AA's for the flash, and you turn the flash on externally. If you accidentally leave that switch on, then your batteries will just die and you have no way of knowing, because when you turn the camera off by closing in the front cover, the flash doesn't turn off, so it's so easy to just put it in your bag and forget, and then your flash is dead for when you next need it, which is really annoying. It's happened to me a couple of times when I've been out shooting some street. Another thing that annoys me about the flash, you have to screw the flash in on the side, and that's how it mounts to the camera. And sometimes, I'm not sure if it's the contacts or the way it's screwed in, if the thread isn't right, but the contacts sometimes just don't touch, and you'll take a photo expecting it to flash and it doesn't, and you've just wasted a frame. Also, if your camera breaks and you want to repair it, it's not going to happen really with the Contax T, because these early 90s, late 80s point and shoots just turned so electronic. They're practically a printed circuit board with a lens, so it's highly unlikely you'll ever fix it unless you buy a spares and repair and swap out parts. But still, it's just a job I would not like to do, and there aren't really any more people who fix them anymore. So take that into account when you are buying one. Depending on the condition and how much it's been used, it's something to account for. Some of the quirks and features that I like about this camera are when you're shooting at f8, there is a little green line along the lens to tell you where to set your focus to, for it to be from infinity to, I think it's around 2 meters. This is great for street photography. Personally, I love it, because if you're shooting with a T2 or a point and shoot that has autofocus, there's like half a second of delay, or maybe even a full second, to find that contrast and actually focus the camera. When you're on the streets and every split second counts, that can be really annoying. That's why I love this camera personally, because it is manual focus. I find it much easier to use it at f8 with this setting, where I know it will be tack sharp when I'm taking the picture. Also, the camera has a leaf shutter, so it's completely silent. Obviously, most point and shoots have this, if not all, but it's especially silent due to there's a manual wind on for the film, So when you're taking a picture, you're dead silent. There's no annoying whir of the film winding on, and it's just the pure sound of the leaf shutter, so this camera is completely silent. Luckily, the metering system on my Contax T is still working. It's quite vague what it's telling you through the viewfinder in terms of shutter speeds, but I've trusted it in the past and it's just got it right every time. The viewfinder is tiny. Relative to some other point and shoots that I've used, it's very small. And this is annoying. You will get used to it. I don't find it annoying anymore, but it's a big difference when you start shooting with it. Also, the focus squares that overlap when you're focusing, not much light is let in, so that square is quite hard to see depending on your lighting situation. That's generally why I stick to f8 with this camera. So I'm going to take the camera out with some Portra 400. Which is really silly.
That's fine.
That's cool.
I just put a scan that I got with medium quality in the middle.
That's what I do.
Yeah, if I want to blow it up.
Yeah. So in conclusion, this camera is a brilliant little point and shoot, and I would definitely advise buying one. It's done me well, the lens is brilliant. Personally, I think it's one of the best compact cameras out there for 35mm film, and I would definitely advise it if you're looking to get one and you're comparing it to the other Contaxes. Thanks for watching, I'll catch you in the next video.